There is a new shelter in Essex County for homeless cats and dogs. The Francis Miller Adoption Center, just outside of Elizabethtown, is a spacious new $1.5 million state-of-the-art shelter for up to 65 cats and 20 dogs, built over the past several months. And every penny of that cost came from donations from more than 1,000 donors. And with us at the roundtable this week to talk about it more is Margie Ruther and also Pat Tivnan, who are both on the board of directors for the North Country SPCA. Welcome. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
You've opened, hooray, within the past couple of weeks. This has been a project that's been years in the making.
It has. We found the land originally 5 years ago. So it's been a long haul. It's been both exhausting and incredibly exhilarating.
I can imagine.
Yes.
5 years ago, the board said we need to find a new place. The shelter in Westport was small. You had cats and dogs in the same areas in cages, and not really. It wasn't very friendly for people coming to adopt. There weren't areas where they could interact with the animals.
Right, very small. Cats were on top of dogs, and physically the facility was almost 50 years old, and a lot of things were falling apart and being, just held together with some baling twine, and it was really time to go.
But it was during the recession, so probably the board said, oh, so we've got to find a site, we've got to find donations you decided the best option was to build, but that must have been a daunting task at the beginning of the recession.
It was a daunting task, but it was our only option. There was no way we could work with what we had, which was literally falling down. And we were talking about it sort of tentatively, but like, how will we pull the trigger on this? And my husband happened to find the land, which was for sale. It was a beautiful 18.5 acres. And I think it prompted us in some way to say, okay, let's go for it. We bought it at auction, and then we got a tremendous amount of help from people in the community on how to organize a capital campaign.
And that was quite successful.
Yes.
1.6 million altogether, all from donations. And you broke ground last August, and
Yes.
construction went through the winter, and you just opened a couple of weeks ago. And when you say state-of-the-art for a shelter, this truly is, from the ground up.
There's a lot of fresh air that comes in, and the air does not get recycled. It's a very high-tech system we have for the HVAC, but already you can see that the cats are thriving in air that is just all fresh to them. Does not have any of the normal respiratory diseases we used to see.
The dogs on one side, cats on the other. While many families have cats and dogs together and they learn to get along, this is by design to keep the cats in one wing and dogs in the other, and really the cats can't hear the dogs and vice versa, which I imagine reduces the stress for the animals.
And they found just with studies that animals, like people, when under stress, tend to break out with more illnesses. So this way there is separation, and they're much more content, happier, etc. And it's true that with the sunshine coming in through the windows and the HVAC system, and it's just amazing. From the moment the cats and dogs arrived at that shelter that first day, they just sort of said, I'm here, this is great. It was wonderful to see the transformation.
So there are no wire cages. The cats have cat rooms, colony rooms. That's what you first notice as you walk into the shelter. You see the giant windows looking out and all these cats there soaking up the sun, and it just seems like such a better setting for them.
Right, we can have as many as 10 cats in each of those colony rooms, and they all used to be in individual cages, and now they're just hanging out on these multi-tier beds in the windows, and it's really working out very well.
And it's also an opportunity for folks to come in and interact with the animals. So when we were there earlier this week, one of your volunteers, Laura Langston, was there with some of the cats, and it's just you can go right into the rooms and sit down with the cats and really have a chance to get to know them, which has to be a huge improvement.
It is very much a huge improvement, and I think it gives both volunteers and people who want to adopt. In our old shelter, we had no space for people to sit down with a cat or a dog they wanted to interact with to see if this was the right dog for them. And here there's plenty of options, both in the dog area, the adoption area, and in the cat area, where they can sit on a chair, on the floor, or hang out and decide, is this the right pet for me?
And you can even go outside. When we were there, Laura took Lucy out for a walk. You have trails around the shelter so folks can actually take a dog out for a walk. Which must be wonderful for them to
Yes.
actually go out with the pet and interact with it and be able to do that.
Yeah, our dogs get out for frequent walks, which is really great for them, and it's also great for volunteers. Great to get to know a dog, and you can, if you're really serious about adopting, you want to bring your dog in and see how the interaction's going to go. We can do that now too.
To the side of the shelter, we can see an area that's under construction, and you mentioned that there will soon be a large play area for the dogs as well.
Yes, we're working on that come spring, once mud season has passed, to design 80 by 80 approximately. We're seeing how the setting will fit, where people could go with a dog or a couple of dogs and throw balls, throw frisbees, where the dog could run off leash. And it gives everybody a great opportunity to get a lot of exercise and hang out together.
That, like the shelter, is being built with donations.
Yes.
People really stepped up to make
Absolutely.
this a reality.
We had amazing outpouring of support from small amounts to very large amounts. And I tip my hat to everybody who gave, because everybody gave what they could, and it was quite extraordinary, both within Essex County and from around the country, because we have so many summer residents here. And everybody stepped up to support this cause. Are
you getting a lot of response from people that see your website or your Facebook page and can actually see the pet that way and,
yes.
and say, that's a pet we're interested in?
There's a gentleman I've gotten to know in New York City who saw a Cairn Terrier on our site about 1.5 years ago. And he wanted a Cairn, and he drove up, met the dog, and took him home with him. And they've been living very happily ever since.
This must make it, in some ways, easier to raise donations when folks can come and see the facility and see how wonderful it is for the pets there.
It's so welcoming for people as well as for animals. And I think that the more volunteers we get, as Pat has said, we welcome all volunteers, because the more socialization, the better off the animals are. And it's also a great way for people to donate their time.
Pat, Margie, thank you very much for taking the time to stop by and
Thank
talk with us today.
Thanks for having us here.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.